Welcome to this session today on the launch for the Shure SLX-D digital wireless system. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And this is something of great pride for us because the SLX, it was kind of a benchmark in the world of wireless systems. When it was launched. And it held that benchmark for many, many years. There were a lot of features that SLX introduced, which was at the beginning one of a kind. There were no other systems with those kind of features. And today, with great pride, we are very happy to announce that we are going SLX-D. So today's presentation will take us through the various features of SLX-D. Who is this product meant for? What are the target groups, who can benefit from this product, and then we end it with a small, demo of the product. Now, if you all have any questions, I would request to please type those questions down in the chat window. And the moment we get done with the presentation, we'll be most happy to take those questions. So, like I said, for today's agenda, we go through a quick summary of the SLX-D. We will then have a product overview. So we'll go over the various, the form factor of the device, what are the kind of accessories that come along with it. We'll then have a look at the applications and go a little deeper into the features of the product. Then we'll have a quick demo, and after that, we will introduce you to the various training portals that are available for SLX-D. So a quick introduction of, where did it all begin? This is the Shure SLX analog wireless, which was launched almost 16 years ago. Now, there were certain features, firstly and the most notably audio reference companding, which is Shure's patented technology for, the transmission of RF signals, which has widely been adopted by most other wireless manufacturers. So audio reference companding, auto frequency selection, auto transmitter setup. Previous to SLX, all this had to be manual. Like there was a small screwdriver on the SLX transmitter, and you change the position of that screw, and that would give you new frequencies. So, that was, this method of infrared syncing and, transmission of frequencies from the transmitter to the receiver, etc., was all introduced at the time of SLX. Then the other thing is AA batteries, because previous to SLX, we were using 9-volt batteries. So SLX was one of the first devices that made the transition to AA batteries. And the last and not least is the SLX Logic version, which is the SLX-L. Now, this had basically a 3-pin logic output connector at the back of the device. And with this connector, you could do various things, like you'd send control messages to other devices further on in the chain. So this was also a first for SLX and for any device of its time. And now we proudly introduce the SLX Digital. Now, firstly, it goes without saying that the product is developed, keeping all of Shure's exceptional wireless solutions in mind. So, although it is a mid-tier product, there is no lack of performance between an SLX-D and any of the other Shure digital products. And this is basically the last in the chain because all the other devices were shifted to digital a while back, and the SLX-D was the last analog system, which has now shifted to digital. So it comes with market-leading Shure wireless expertise. Again, no need to mention that the RF performance. Shure is basically most reputed for the rock-solid RF performance of their devices and of our devices, and it is now incorporated in the SLX-D as well. It is a very big value offering to the mid-market. When you compare price versus the feature set, there is nothing to compare with the SLX-D at the moment, and that will be clearer as we go through the specifications and some of the features of the product. It is calibrated completely for out-of-the-box ease of use. which means even things like deploying fresh frequencies is so simple. You basically, even if you have no real experience with working with RF equipment, we have some features which are incorporated into the device that makes this also very easy. So deploying fresh frequencies is a breeze. Extremely reliable RF performance goes without saying. Now that we are on the digital, SLX is on the digital platform, you get the benefits of digital sound. Similar to the digital quality sound that you are getting from the QLX-D, the ULX-D, and Axion Digital. So similar technology is now in the SLX Digital. And last but not least, we bring rechargeability to the SLX-D. Over the life cycle of a product, if you think of SLX being around for 16 years, even if you were to use one pair of AA batteries every single day for the past 16 years, that's a lot of batteries and a lot of wastage, a lot of money wasted. Shure has been very keen to promote the use of rechargeability, rechargeable batteries. There are benefits to rechargeability, which we will also go through today. So now we're going to have a quick look at the product and the various form factors. So first in the list, as you can see on the top left, is the SLX-D4D. Okay. Now, yes, the SLX-D comes in two variations, so a single channel and a dual channel. So the SLX-D4D is the dual channel variant. Up top is the front panel, and at the bottom is the rear panel. As you can see, a pair of XLR outputs, a pair of quarter-inch outputs, and a pair of antenna inputs. Here's the SLX-D4, the single channel device. And at the bottom, we have the SLX-D2 handheld, the SLX-D1 body pack, the SB903 battery, the SBC10 single battery charger, and the SBC203, which is the dual battery charger. Now, the SLX-D by default from the factory ships with a pair of AA batteries. So the rechargeable option is an optional accessory which needs to be purchased separately. But that being said, we'll go through some of the real benefits of being rechargeable. A few features with regards to the SBC10 is that it is USB-C powered. Okay, so you can actually charge it with a USB-C cable. Although it comes with its own, charger and cable, I've been testing it out quite often with, just recharging from a USB-C charger, phone charger, and it works perfectly fine. Also, the SBC203, although it is a 2-slot charger, but you can gang 4 units together. So, there's a base plate to connect 4 units, and then the 4 units will share the same power. So if you have an SLX-D rack with a drawer, or a shelf, so in the drawer or the shelf, you can combine 4 of these units together. So you can have 4 devices charging simultaneously. So you can either pull out the battery and charge it, or you see from the body pack and from the handheld, you see this little golden charging strips here. So you just dock it into the charger and it's good to go. Overall, there's a saying in the electronics world that sometimes the more moving parts you have, the higher the chances of failure. This is one of the very important reasons to just go rechargeable, because you no longer need to take out the battery, put it to charge, put the battery back in. You just pull out the body pack or the handheld from the Talent or wherever it's being used and just dock it into the charger. The charging times are also pretty quick. A quick product overview. So SLX-D coming now into the digital domain. You get crystal clear digital audio quality. So, and the most important when it comes to, or the biggest difference between analog and digital was always that the analog dynamic range was much less and the analog frequency response was much less. But now being in the digital domain, you get the similar qualities to digital sound that you get even in Axion Digital, which is, very large dynamic range. So over 120 dB dynamic range. And you get a frequency response which is now 20 to 20 kilohertz. So, even if you want to give it to like a bass heavy instrument, a bass guitar player, or, wireless for, percussive instruments which have extreme low end, these will now perform really, really well. Extremely stable, rock solid, and high efficiency RF performance. Although in these devices, being a digital device, you can actually run much lower RF powers, and you can get performance that is even greater than the analog systems. So this is what we mean over here. So the efficiency is rock solid, and you get extremely reliable RF performance. The RF scan and sync setup is basically at a push of a button. And we have a new feature that's called the guided frequency setup tool. So this is something I will explain in the demo as well. But what it means is, when you install a new software on your laptop or on your phone, it is a guided setup procedure. So, you'll get a pop-up message which says, okay, now press this next button. Then you'll get another message, press this button. You'll get another message, press this button. And it guides you through the installation of the software. So we've introduced a similar feature to the SLX-D, where it actually guides you into the setup of fresh frequencies. So this is called the guided frequency setup tool. And you can access it by pressing one button. You can do this blindfolded. You just need to press that one button 8 times, and the entire system gets fresh frequencies. It's quite remarkable. Now, we have a 44 megahertz tuning bandwidth for each band, and in that 44 you get 32 compatible systems. Now this is a massive, massive benefit, because the previous SLX or any actually analog system, at this price point you don't get more than 12 channels per band. And now you can faithfully go up to 32 channels, compatible channels per frequency band. So there's no longer the need of, if you want a large inventory of SLX-D, there's no need of mixing and matching bands. You can now go with one band, and that will give you up to 32 systems that will be compatible. And last is the RF power mode. So we have a 1 milliwatt mode and a 10 milliwatt mode. So the 1 milliwatt mode is denoted by low, and 10 milliwatts is denoted by high. Now, just to give you just a technical tip on basically what does 1 milliwatt and 10 milliwatts translate as far as range. So at the 10 milliwatt high power mode, as long as you have clear line of sight, now that's very important. You always have to have clear line of sight. As long as you have clear line of sight, you're capable of doing in the range of 100 meters. Okay. And at low power mode, at 1 milliwatt, it's about half that, which means you can more than comfortably even go into a medium-sized ballroom at 1 milliwatts, and you will be more than the range you will get will be absolutely solid. Next bit is the rechargeable batteries. So, like I said, the option of 2 AA, so a pair of AA batteries, or the option of the rechargeable lithium-ion battery SB903. Okay, basically a couple of features. Obviously, over time, you end up saving a lot of money on AA batteries. The life of the rechargeable batteries is extremely high. It is rated for a large number of recycles. And this is something also I'll discuss when we get into the demo. And you get an ease of use of 8 hours on fresh batteries. And actually, since I've been using it, and working with it at home and doing some demos, every time it's fully charged, I get actually over 10 hours of battery life. So, you're in that, 8 to 10 hours of battery life. And when you use the SB903, you no longer get bars for the amount of battery time left. You get basically an exact minute and second, an hour and a minute readout. So it'll give you an exact readout of how much battery power is actually left on your device. Very handy to have, and definitely more user-friendly than having just bars to denote how much battery life is left. It is very, very user-friendly. Manage multiple systems with scans. There's an Ethernet port at the back, which is used for firmware updates, for local setup, and to set up and control via Ethernet. Now, one thing that we should note is that the SLX-D will not be used with wireless workbench. And actually, on the flip side, a lot of the features of wireless workbench, and I'll go through those for anyone that's attended the wireless workbench sessions that I've done, those features are actually introduced into the receiver of the device. So things like, presets for the transmitter, presets for the receiver, guided frequency scan, etc., are all features, that make it much easier to use, and you actually don't really find the need for using wireless workbench with this device because of how seamless it is. And now that being said, if you are in a situation where you have other Shure wireless equipment, you can actually still use wireless workbench to calculate the frequencies for you, and then you can deploy those frequencies manually. So there are two ways of doing it. But in my opinion, if you're using the guided frequency setup, there's no real need for getting into wireless workbench at all. Now, as most of you will know and will expect from Shure, we have a vast variety of microphones and SKU configurations. So you can, this is something that is very typical of us from Shure, because we like to give the user the most flexibility. And overall, that flexibility leads to the most value for money. This being said, any of Shure's current portfolio of TQG connector-based, lavalier devices can all work with the same body pack, with this body pack, and all of the Shure, wireless capsules. So the SM58 capsule, Beta 58 capsule, KSM8, KSM9, they can also be used with the handhelds. Okay, so the capsule is removable, and you can replace it with any other Shure or any other third-party capsule as well. So you have that feature as well. And last but not least, industry-leading Shure design and quality construction standards. So, this handheld is actually constructed so well that it will actually rival some of the other devices as well. It's an all-metal construction. It is pretty heavy to touch and hold. So, just maintaining that, if you use it in demanding live sound applications, it's not going to, you can work it basically worry-free, without, worrying that the device is going to get damaged. These are the allocated frequency bands for India. So we have G59, H56, J53, K59, and L56, all 44 megahertz bands. And as we mentioned, we've reduced the number of bands actually that are needed for India, specifically from the point of view that you can fit 32 devices into one frequency band. And that being said, before, we always advise that before people buy or place orders for wireless systems, you always contact Shure or contact the distributor Sun Infonet, and with what inventory you currently have. And then based on the inventory that you currently have, we will advise you what frequency bands to go with. So that, if you end up using your current inventory along with your new inventory, you can actually use everything without any form of frequency clashes. Yeah, so always feel free to approach us regarding information or advice as per what frequency bands should be purchased. Great, we'll have a look now at the applications and the features and how they specifically relate to the various verticals. So the integration vertical, the live sound vertical, and for SLX-D, the musician vertical also. So for integrators, some of the features that are listed here are superior audio quality and design. No longer does it have the plastic body, and it's a great looking device, as you'll see very soon. The RF performance is absolutely rock solid, and the technology that's used in SLX-D is proprietary to Shure. Absolutely, the performance is amazing. Now, if you use the SB903, you get to the minute battery life with health and rechargeable options. So we definitely urge customers to look at the SB903 because it is an important upgrade to the device. You know, it's you will in the long run end up saving a lot of money when it comes to when it comes to rechargeable batteries. Next is the Ethernet port enabled group scan and the facility for third party control strings and firmware updates. So I just want to reiterate that the Ethernet port at the back is not meant for wireless workbench. At the moment, it is meant for for networking the devices, because you can use then group scan, and in order to have third-party control strings to interface with integration equipment. And the last thing is for firmware updates. So if you connect the device to Shure Update utility, you can use that to update the firmware on the device. Okay. It is also compatible with all of Shure's wireless accessories. So it's not like because you're using SLX-D that you need to go and buy a whole set of new accessories. So the same distributors, the same antennas, your cabling, nothing really changes in the rest of the chain. You can integrate directly into a setup that you already have. For live events, most important for live events is the quality and the clarity of the sound. And with this, over 120 dB dynamic range, you can now, without any hesitation, connect a really loud guitar wireless or a really loud percussion wireless, and at the same time you can use it for extremely loud vocals, and there's literally no chance of any form of distortion. So this is the very high dynamic range. The frequency response is 20 to 20, as opposed to any older analog wireless system. The frequency response was always restricted to 50 hertz to 15 kilohertz. Yeah, so this is a very less known fact about analog systems, but this is true. And you instantly find that when you transition to a digital device, the frequency response completely opens up, and it's a very common feedback that we get from especially musicians and singers when they use like the Accent Digital or the QLX-D, that there's something different and something sounds more natural and more better, and that is basically the transition to the digital domain. You have a wide variety of wireless microphone options and system configurations. So, like I said, SM58, Beta 58, KSM8, KSM9, and we have so many wireless capsule options. So compatible with all of them. The 8-hour battery life, is great, because you can typically now get into a rehearsal. If your batteries are fully charged, you can actually do a rehearsal and do the entire show without changing batteries. So this is a very important feature of it as well. And if you use the rechargeable batteries, then also the battery metric on the receiver will not show you bars anymore. It will show you the exact battery metric. So it will show you 3 hours, 47 minutes, whatever it is. It will show you the exact amount of time that is remaining on the receiver as well. Okay, and again, it's compatible with Shure wireless UHF accessories. So again, no need to upgrade, to change. It can work in your current Shure infrastructure right out of the box. And for performers and musicians, for performers and musicians, it's very important that the device is easy to use and is trouble-free. Because they have to concentrate on playing. They don't really need to concentrate so much on the tech side. And this SLX-D actually makes that very, very easy for you. So, like we said, you get a wide variety of choices and various SKUs, like your previous generation, lapel mics to headset mics for flautists, for guitar cable for a bass guitar or a guitar player, the Shure Beta 98 DS, which was used very often for making a dhol system or a dholak system wireless. All this is now compatible with, directly compatible with SLX-D. Super reliable RF for on-stage freedom from cables. You know, the RF performance is really something to check out. It's really supreme. Excellent for instruments with fast transients. Now, what does this mean? You know, in the analog systems, because you had the companding circuit and the various other circuits in order to send RF, in order to send audio over the wireless realm, you ended up compromising a little bit on the sound. And that completely takes that element out when you come to the digital domain. So, it's great with fast transient instruments. So, think of horns, think of marching bands, anything that has extremely high transients. The SLX-D and all of the Shure digital products, but SLX-D in particular will be very, very beneficial. Okay, and at the end of the day, it's very easy to set up. It's extremely ruggedly constructed, roadworthy construction, and the option of rechargeable battery setup. Now, if we take this page, this is just like a basic comparison of the products that are there in this catalog. So the GLX-D Advance, the SLX, the SLX-D, and the QLX-D. So now the price comparison that we've given you here is the list price for these devices. To get the accurate pricing of the device, we encourage everyone to please get in touch with your local distributor. So for India, it is Sun Infonet. For Bangladesh, it is Omni Concepts. For Nepal, it is MAW. And for Sri Lanka, it is AVT. So please get in touch with your local distributor for the accurate costing. But we've just broken up the cost as in if you have one channel receiver and one SM58 based transmitter, then this is what the cost breakup looks like. So for GLX-D Advance, 62,400. For the SLX, 67,600. The SLX-D, 75,700. And for the QLX-D, 1,26,900, and this is all in INR, including GST. So you'll notice that, we've tried to bring the cost of the SLX digital very close to the SLX, even though the feature set, is far ahead of what the SLX can currently offer. So the first primary difference you'll see is the digital wireless transmission. The next that you'll see between the SLX and the GLX-D is the number of channels. Okay, you straight bump up to 32 channels for 44 megahertz. Now that is very, very important. Next is the IR and sync, which that most devices have. Then the SLX-D is ready for AMC and Crestron, and the Ethernet is linkable, which you can use for group scan, and third-party local control. Yeah. So very easily integratable into your corporate installation applications. And the next is the battery. So the SB903, which is up to 8 hours of battery life and accurate battery monitoring and battery metrics. You have a body pack. As far as form factor, you have a body pack and you have a handheld. And as far as receivers, you have a half rack and a dual full rack. As far as encryption goes, no, this device does not have encryption. And that is something that you need to be cautious about. So if you require that your device must have encryption and must be compatible with wireless workbench, then the option for you is the QLX-D. And if encryption is not so important for you, or even if wireless workbench, if you have, if you're planning a purchase of maybe 8-10 channels of SLX-D, you don't technically require wireless workbench. So in that, because the guided frequency scan will do the deployment of fresh frequencies to you. So in that case, SLX-D would be the more affordable option. At that price point, there are no other products that offer the similar feature set that the SLX-D does. And once again, these prices are indicative only. To get an accurate pricing of the product, we urge you to please reach out to your local Shure distributor/dealer, and they will provide you with the accurate costing. Okay, so I hope that part of the presentation was, if anyone at the moment has questions, just feel free to type it out in the chat window, and we'll address all of the questions once we get to the Q&A session. So, firstly, this is what the device looks like. As you can see, here is the SLX-D1, the body pack. This is the charger, okay? Here is the USB-C Type-C port, okay? So very small, handy, and the moment you connect it, this light will stay red while the battery is charging. The moment the battery charges, it will turn green. To get a full battery charge, you need to charge it at least for 3 hours. But that being said, if you charge it even for 1 hour, you will get about 4 hours of battery life. So sometimes, say if the sound check is over and show is about to begin, even if it gets 45 minutes to 1 hour of charging time, you'll get a good 3.5 to 4 hours of battery life from the rechargeable batteries. Okay, and at the top here, this is the receiver. So at the top here, I have 2 of the single channel receivers. And at the bottom here is the dual channel receiver. So as you can see, even if you have 2 single channels, the way they join and they fit, it's very seamless. So, it almost looks like a single 2-channel device, other than, the additional power button up in the front over here. So currently, in fact, what I'm talking on is the Twinplex. And you can see my signal is coming into the system. Audio signal is also coming into the system. Twinplex is, of course, a few years old, but with the same TQG connector, it connects straight into the SLX-D. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll take a closer look at the menu system of the SLX-D, and for that, if I just adjust my camera just a bit. Okay, so I hope this is clear for everyone. Yeah, lovely. So as you can see, the front panel is it's a very clean design. Not too many buttons, not too many, not too much stuff on it. Very, very clean design. And most of the control that you will do, you will end up doing from this push button knob in the front. So let's go through the menu system. Now, as you can see, currently the device that I'm using has 3 hours and 38 minutes left on it. Now, if you were to use standard AA batteries, then you would not see that. It would just show you bars. And that is something that we should start to get out of, because it's not a very accurate representation. Sometimes you never know, how long the battery has been sitting on a shelf. And as you know, if a battery is not used and it's sitting on a shelf, it starts to degrade. So sometimes you'll put a fresh battery into a device, and unluckily you might get sometimes barely 1 hour of life. So using the rechargeables, it gives you a very accurate amount of time that's remaining on the battery. Now, as you see also here up here, this is the networking icon. So this means that all the 4 devices are connected via a switch. So the moment they're connected, this network icon will pop up on your screen. And then any activities you do with regards to fresh frequencies, any of that, it will recognize all the devices in the loop, and it will adjust and deploy fresh frequencies to the entire rack. Okay, so let's go through the various through the menu items. So up first is the frequency setup. In this frequency setup area, you'll get the guided frequency setup, you'll get group scan, channel scan, various other features. So everything to do with frequencies. Next is the channel name. Obviously, if you want to name the channel, this is where you will do it from. And once you name the device on the receiver and you do a sync, it will automatically sync to your. It will automatically send the same name to your transmitter as well. Next is the microphone gain, and as you can see here, my current gain is +6 dB, so very easy to adjust again straight from the front panel. No more the need for screwdrivers and any of that to adjust simple settings. It's all on the front, all through the menu system. Then the next is whether you want to run mic level or line level. This is typical for applications. So whether you're running, like, say, a guitar wireless or a bass guitar wireless, or you're running a lapel mic or a cordless microphone. So this is where you'll set up the mic and line level. The advanced settings basically have a lot of the receiver and transmitter settings. So you remember, like I mentioned, that there are some features from Wireless Workbench which are incorporated directly to the receiver. And so some of them are over here, which we'll have a look. Firstly, device lock, front panel lock, menu lock, all that comes into device lock. Then next is the network configuration. So whether you want to run it, run it DHCP, so auto sensing or manual. Next is the controller access. So this is for your third-party controllers and all that integration related stuff. The transmitter preset is basically instead of playing with the transmitter and making changes on the small screen, you can actually make the changes on the receiver, and the moment you sync it, those settings get transmitted to the transmitter. Yeah. Then things like, in fact, let's have a look at the transmitter preset. So here things like, offset for the handheld, offset if in case it's a body pack, RF power if you want to change the RF power of the transmitter, high pass filter. So they have a high pass filter built onto it, so which is at 80 hertz. That can be deployed straight from the body pack, or you can deploy it from the receiver. Then the transmitter lock type and the transmitter auto lock. So this is self-explanatory for button lock or power lock or frequency lock is all set up over here. And like I mentioned, you can make the setup, you can do the transmitter preset setup on the receiver, and the moment you sync it, those settings will get transmitted to the transmitter. So you don't need to sit and play with the buttons and look at this small screen and make those changes. It can be just done from the receiver itself. Okay, and the type of battery, so this you can set to no change, or if you're using lithium ion or you're using AA batteries. Let's go back out, and we will now have a look at the last few, which is so the device preset. So that's another thing. Now you can set presets for the SLX-D receiver. So supposing day one it's used for lavalier microphones for a conference, day two it might be used for a band for wireless percussion. You can actually save that as a preset on the SLX-D. So you don't have to reconfigure it the next day. You can just recall a lapel preset, or you can recall dhol wireless preset, or you can recall guitar wireless preset straight from this menu. Next is if you want to factory reset the device, which is very easy to understand. Here's where you will change the, update the transmitter and receiver firmware. And the last is the about function, where it will give you metrics. So I'm currently on 1.0.5.0 firmware, which came out just a few days ago, and this is my serial number of the device. So now we'll have a quick look at the body pack. So firstly, if you can see, let me just zoom in slightly. There you go. So here are the menu buttons for the control of the device. So you have an enter button, you have a menu button, and on the other side you have the IR sync port. Okay, this is the IR sync port, and at the top here you have the power button and the TQG connector. Okay, so let me do one thing and now turn on the device. So we'll have a look at the menu system of the device. So I hope this display is clear to everyone. Lovely. So let's go through the menu system now. There you go. Okay, so this is the opening screen. You can see here now, this one shows me 9 hours and 49 minutes of battery time left. I'm using an SB903 battery in this. Then after that, this is the microphone offset. This is quite simple to understand. Most all the devices have microphone offset. RF power settings. So currently, because I'm like really close to the rack, I don't need to run high power. I'm just running it at low power, 1 milliwatt. High pass for me is on. So currently the microphone that I'm speaking on, the Twinplex, it's not going through any kind of processing. So it's just the high pass from the device and then coming into Zoom, and you're listening to me on that directly. Next is the battery and the battery cycle. So you can see the battery time, the cycle, and the health. Now I just wanted to mention something regarding the battery cycles. So what is considered as one battery cycle? One battery cycle is considered as a full discharge and a full recharge of the battery. So it's not like a mobile phone. Say if you use 2 hours and then put it to charge, that is considered as one cycle. That's not true for any of the Shure wireless batteries. So one complete discharge, one complete recharge is counted as one cycle. Just to give you kind of a mention behind that is that this SLX-D has been with me for the past 4 months, I'd say. And in that time, with pretty much using it every single day, you can still see that this battery shows you, it shows you that just 9 charging cycles have been done. But so that shows you that, even if you charge it, use it for a little bit and charge it, use it for a little bit and charge it, it's not counted as one full cycle. Okay, so it gives you here battery cycle 8 and health is 100%. This is the auto lock on and off. So depending on whatever you choose, menu lock or frequency lock. Here's the lock type that you will choose. And the last is the firmware. Yeah, so very easy to see. So now what we'll do is I will actually do a frequency scan, a fresh frequency scan for the device. And that is basically what we call the guided frequency scan. So pay close attention to the screen. Like I said, it's about 7 or 8 pushes of that same push button, and that gives you all fresh frequencies. And you'll also see the various messages that will pop up on the screen, every time, basically guiding you through the setup. So let's start. Yep, frequency setup, guided frequency setup. Initialize my system, yes please. Group scan will find the best group of channels to use for your system. Yes, that's what I would like. Now, this is a very important step because we always maintain that you should be turning off all your transmitters before you do a scan. And sometimes I know we forget about this, but when you forget to turn off your transmitters, those frequencies that the transmitters are on actually get looked at by the device doing the scan as noise. So in essence, you're actually losing some frequencies because those transmitters are turned on. So now I'm not going to turn off, maybe I'll just turn off this one. Yeah, I'll turn off this one, but the other one which I'm wearing is on. So ideally, if this body pack is on and it's done a scan, it should probably show you 31 frequencies because one is currently in use. Okay, and also while it does the scan and until I do the resync, you might lose my voice, but that is barely for about 3 or 4 seconds. So stand by. Let's start. Yep, so yeah, wow, still shows me 32 frequencies available. So receivers 4 because 4 are in my network, and it shows me I have 32 frequencies that are available. Okay, so let's go back to the rack now, and the moment I hit assign, it will now ask me whether to confirm that I want to assign fresh frequencies. I will now say yes. Okay, and now I've synced my device and I am back online with you. So it's really that effortless and that simple. And I'll just show you a quick video now with respect to how this will look like if you deploy a very large inventory. So let's have a look at that. So as you can see here, there's a vast quantity of SLX-D. So he's doing the same setup. So the guided frequency scan, the device is scanning. As you can see, the scan is also very, very quick, barely 5 or 6 seconds to do the entire scan. Now that's a full rack of 32 systems. He's going to assign. And there you go. Yep. So as simple as that, very, very easy to deploy a vast quantity of channels very fast and very effortlessly, let's say. So this is it as far as the demo goes. I would open the floor to some questions. If you have any questions in the chat window, you can please feel free to ask.
Hey, Fali. So I do see some questions in the chat window already. So going with the first one on the SBC 10, how long does it take to charge the battery over USB-C?
So SBC on the SBC 10 with the regular charger, it takes about 3 to 3.5 hours. And I found that with my, I should not be recommending this, but I find with my phone charger that I use, the power of the phone charger is a little less. It takes a little longer. But about, if you have zero battery, about 3 hours to get a full charge. And that full charge would give you little above 8 hours of battery life.
Okay. Coming to the next question. So would you please suggest the frequency apps to find out other frequencies which is interfering in the... Okay, so basically the question is that what tool do you suggest to find out the interfering frequencies?
Wireless workbench will be your best option, and to do all this frequency related stuff. So wireless workbench, we have a lot of videos that we've created on wireless workbench, which are on the not only the Shure South Asia page, which is us, but also on the Shure Global page. There are lots of videos regarding wireless workbench.
So another question from the same person. I think it's a good question, I would say, for general knowledge for the majority of the audience, I guess.
Yeah.
The question is, how can I know that other frequency is coming in the middle or interfering, and what happens when the frequency there is an interfering frequency?
Yeah, I mean, if you have, firstly, how will you know if another frequency is interfering? The chances of your mic turning off is quite high. Not physically turning off, but you will get interference kind of sounds. Now, if that is a concern, which it is a concern for a lot of people, then your best bet is something like the Shure Accent Digital, where that can do this automatic frequency management, etc. for you. But that's now on another topic that's related to Accent Digital. As far as SLX-D, as long as you've done your clear deployment, and your especially if it's a festival, or it is maybe sometimes it can even be press and broadcast. You have to always be in control to an extent of the additional frequencies which are coming in. I know it's more easy to say it than it is to implement, but that is basically how it is done. So once your deployment is done, you need to be aware of what else is happening in your environment, which is what wireless workbench will help you do. And the second thing is, you need to, if you're in a very congested RF environment, then your only option is to actually keep your transmitter on. Because if you keep your transmitter on, someone else that is doing a scan, maybe in a venue that is very close to you, will see your transmitter as interference, and his system will not put those frequencies down. So there are two methods to basically mitigate something like that. And so typically for your question with regards to how will you know, so Shure makes a device which is called the Spectrum Manager. You can use the Spectrum Manager. AXT600 is a Spectrum Manager that you can use to do all this activity basically for you.
So in very, very layman terms, Fali, let's say if I am in that environment and I don't have tools, if there is interference, probably the first thing we'll notice is a drop in audio. That would be the first signs of...
First sign.
Cool.
First sign.
Okay, so next question is about the video you showed about multiple receivers being synced together. So the question is, if you have a big rack like that, do you have to resync all transmitters again if you do the scan?
No. So you can do it individually. So if I show you what that kind of looks like, let's just go back into the rack and have a look. So that is basically if you want to deploy everything, at once, but you have the facility to just do a channel scan as well. So if I go into the frequency setup, you go to channel scan. So channel scan will only scan the same group, but for that one channel of yours. So, or you also have the option to go into manual frequency setup, although manual frequency setup is only meant that supposing you are in a very congested environment, you will then, and you have a mix and match of equipment. So you have some Axiom Digital, some PSM 1000, and some SLX-D. Then you will actually use everything in a wireless workbench to give you frequencies. And once it gives you the frequencies for SLX-D, you'll have to come manually into the device and enter those frequencies. So that's manual setup. So the video that I showed is just a demonstration purpose that if you have 30 frequencies, you don't have to do it one by one, which is what you would have to do when you were using the older analog systems that did not have these features. You would have to do it one by one manually. Setting up 30 frequencies would probably take you half a day. Not so long, but a long time. So, in this, it's just demonstrating that if you have a lot of frequencies and everything is networked, you can have all your frequencies up and running in, 1.5 minutes, basically.
Okay, so next question is coming verbatim to you. Does the SLX-D, so SLX-D doesn't suffer from interned distortion?
I think the question means suffer from intermodulation distortion. I'm not too sure about.
Okay, so Vijay, if you could just clarify your question. Meanwhile, we'll just. He says intermod.
Yeah, intermod distortion. Yeah. So the thing is, most digital devices are to an extent intermodulation distortion. I wouldn't say free, but are resistant to it, and that's simply because of the design of the devices. Okay, so now it's two things. It's the design of the device and it's the amount of power that you run. Digital stuff being far more power efficient, you can run them at much lower powers, and the moment your power starts to reduce, also the impacts of intermodulation distortion will also start to reduce. So from that point of view, yes, obviously, I mean, if you have a rack of units and you have basically all of them absolutely side by side, in an analog system, that would drive you insane. It's not possible. But in a digital system, you can still get away from it because the systems inherently are intermodulation distortion free. So I hope, Vijay, I hope that answers the question. But most digital devices, so the SLX-D, any of the Shure stuff, to an extent from any manufacturer also, it won't be intermod free, but it will be intermod resistant, let's just say.
Okay, so the next question is, okay, so yeah, I'm actually, there was a question about the gooseneck, from Mean Machine, but I've sorted that question out separately in the chat. So the question was that what about the gooseneck microphone? Is there a wireless? So SLX-D does not have a gooseneck transmitter option. What it has is a handle and a body pack transmitter form factors. Right. But we do have wireless gooseneck transmitters in another product, which is either the ULX-D or the MXW. So you do have the gooseneck form factors in those in wireless. Yeah. So that would be all the questions as of now. And if there is anything, if people want to ask by unmuting, I'm just going to allow you to unmute, but we just have 3 minutes left. Let Fali finish the rest of his slides first so that you get to know where to get to know more about the products, right?
Awesome. So, guys, I urge everyone to head over to the Shure training portal. On that training portal, you will find trainings for a lot of Shure products and applications, right from like the also the SLX-D stuff, obviously, but all of the wireless catalog. We have very good trainings online which come with certification. And the thing is, they're very in-depth. They're not very difficult, but they're very in-depth. So they impart a lot of knowledge when it comes to, wireless applications, what to look out for, where the problems could be, and hopefully doing some of these courses not only for the live sound segment, but also for the musicians, also for the integrators. We feel that this would be very beneficial at the time of making system deployments, at the time of making BOQs, in fact, also where you keep a lot of these things in mind. So it's a very, very helpful training guide for wireless systems. As far as SLX-D, yes, you will find all of SLX-D training up already, technical training, and also things like wireless best practices, wireless for house of worship. We also do a lot of regional webinars. In fact, this English one is the last one. We've completed all the regional ones, so we've done Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada. They will all be up on the YouTube Shure India, Shure South Asia YouTube page very soon, and this English one will go up as well pretty soon. This is basically how you would reach Shure information on the Shure website. Now, Shure SLX-D and SLX-D for help, very simple and straightforward. I would like to bring your attention to this last thing, which is called Tech Portal. So what is Tech Portal? Tech Portal is basically, if you've ever wondered, what is an SLX-D versus QLX-D versus ULX-D versus Axiom Digital, SM58 versus Beta 58 versus KSM8 versus KSM9. So Tech Portal basically does not have any marketing information. So you will not find pretty pictures and all that. It is purely technical information. And one of the most useful things there is technical comparisons. So you can actually, if you want to compare 5 or 6 microphones, you can compare them technically. As in this microphone system versus this, or this wireless system versus that wireless system. Obviously all Shure products, but what are the various differences between the systems. So very, very helpful tool. All of us here at Shure use Tech Portal actually very often, sometimes even more than reaching out to someone in the other teams. So Tech Portal is very, very helpful. Any comments, suggestions, any request for demos of the products, any of the Shure products, please reach us at india@shure.com. Any information that you would like additional to what we've already presented, india@shure.com is the email address to reach us at. This is the Shure India Facebook page. So if you hit Facebook and just type in Shure India, our Facebook page will come. All our activities, what we are planning, come up here first. At least a few days in advance, sometimes a few weeks in advance. So please follow us on the Shure India Facebook page. We are also on YouTube. So the Shure South Asia YouTube page is what we are. So all our content in various languages, the moment the sessions are done, goes on the Shure South Asia YouTube page. This is the QR code for the learning management system. So I'll just leave this slide on for a few seconds. If you just take a picture of that code, that will, I know the address is quite long, but you can just take a picture of that code, and that code will take you straight to the learning portal. And over there, you have to just register. And once you register, you'll have access to, literally hundreds of courses that are available there. So I'll leave this on for a few seconds. Okay, and in case you've not got this photograph yet, maybe you'll just need to take a screenshot. So if you type Shure SA, SA stands for South Asia. So Shure South Asia dash Shure.talent LMS. LMS is Learning Management System, talentlms.com. Okay, so this is the learning portal, and all these tests and etc. come to the South Asia crew. Most of the tests come with a 2-year certification, and the reason it being 2 years is that every, forget about 2 years, every 6 months technology changes. So, as the courses get updated, you would get emails that a particular course that you've taken and certification done, that course has now been updated, so you can head back to the website to take a recertification. And there we go. Thank you very much for joining us today. And if there are any more questions, please feel free to ask. And if not, you're most welcome to email on india@shure.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Cool. So thank you very much, and take care. Have a good evening. Stay safe. Take care.